Okay, y'all. I'm going to be talking about shame. I'm going to be talking about shame today, and grief, and resentment, being bitter, which, stems from unforgiveness. And sometimes, even when you do forgive, you still have that bad taste. It still rubs you the wrong way. It still lingers, that anger, that pain, especially from people that you're close to and they hurt you, whether it was intentional, unintentional. You have to remind yourself that this is their first time living too, and this is your first time living. Whether you believe in past lives or not, you are an individual, but at the same time, my bad, y'all. Anyway, like I was saying, don't think of you being an individual, which when I mean by you being an individual, your authentic self, you're one of one. Everybody here on earth, even if you have a twin that looks like you're still an individual in the regards to your beliefs, how you feel, what you think, and no one can take that away from you. That is formed from your own thoughts and understanding of how you view the world. Even if we look into the same thing, our lenses are going to be different. Everybody has their own unique individual experiences. Even if you grow up in the same house with your siblings, they experience you differently. They experience your parents differently than you. So regarding that, because we live in a society that, let me not say it's society's fault, because we got to stop blaming society, and because people gonna live how they live, and it's a choice how you want to live your life, how you want to step out into the world. We have the gift of free will, and it's your choice. And so yes, there are selfish people, there's selfless people, there's a combination of both in this world. And a lot of people don't show compassion, humility. A lot of people are deceitful. They don't like being truthful. They like to scam and things of that nature. And sometimes we get caught in the crossfire of that. Sometimes we are on the opposite of that, because we can't watch these videos, or like you watching me right now, and think that you are always the victim, because we were also, even me, I was on the other side of it. I don't want to say victimized someone, but I have been on the opposite end of, I have hurt someone before. I have hurt people before, whether it was intentional or unintentional. It happens because, like I was saying, this is your first time living too. This is my first time living. This is my first experience as this person as I am, being raised how I was, and having to learn how to navigate those emotions and the mental, psychological of everything to bring myself back to an equilibrium. There's a lot of traffic going on. And when you hang on to bitter, and because life does not stop lifing just because you get hurt, just because it seems unfair. Everything will always balance itself out. That is why it's important to not get revenge, okay? Vengeance is mine, the Lord says, and once you reach that state of consciousness, it's like a certain consciousness you're gonna reach. And it's so beautiful, because it's giving me the movie Lucy. I don't know, the movie Lucy's coming up, when she eventually was able to use 100% of her brain. And we as people can unlock certain parts of our brain on this journey, especially if you're following the teachings of Yahshua and keeping it simple. It doesn't have to be all complicated. That's why I call it a journey, a marathon. You don't have to compare yourself, because we don't all start off. Everybody's beginning is different. Everybody's starting place is different. Everybody's starting place is different. So why are we comparing yourselves to other people? I had to learn that. I had to stop comparing myself to other people and their journey, and what they have and what they obtain, and what I lacked and what I felt short of. I had to get out of that, because it's not a race. have to keep telling myself why am I in a rush to get X, Y, and Z, and then when I get it, because we do get some things we go after, we get them, we accomplish it, but then what? It's like you feel good, and now it's on to the next thing. And sometimes we as people don't enjoy what we accomplish, everything that we've been through, good or bad. We go through struggles, and we overcome that, and we don't even celebrate how much we overcame. The little things, what we have, is like being grateful for what you have now and not worrying about, oh my God, hold on. All right, sorry about that. It's like being grateful for what we have now and not worrying about, stop worrying. Anything, I'm not about to list off what you're worrying about because everybody worries is different. It's like, stop worrying. Worry less, pray more, worry less. And I've been on this journey trying to get close, develop my relationship with the Lord more and more. And it's been up and down. It's been very, sorry about that. It's been a roller coaster. It's one of those relationships that is always going to be growing, that I'm always going to tend to. It's a part of my life. But it has not been easy. Not saying, because I also have to relearn things, relearn, unlearn, and always be on this constant growth, steady growth, because that's what life is all about, growing. Life is all about growing, learning, relearning. And sometimes we have to learn and unlearn certain teachings we believed about the Lord and what he stands for, what he stood for, and needing to, let me refocus, because I'm losing my focus right now. There's a lot going on in my surroundings. Nothing bad, it's just getting distracted. I'm like, whoa. Then the birds. Okay, so let me start with this concept, my journal entry. So I started this video saying that you should not worry about shame. Like, you should be shameless. Do not let shame of your past get you down. Because I used to, I'm still working on it now in a way, but it's not a big thing when it comes to shame. It's more about what used to bother me about my past, the things that people did to me, and I guess I was internalizing and thinking that it was my fault, and that since this was done to me, I can't experience X, Y, and Z, and that's just false. Or I've done something to somebody else and I haven't forgiven myself, so now I am personally torturing myself, or what's the word I was looking for, punishing myself because of things I didn't know. And you don't know until you know, and we have to live and learn, because we go through different, I'm call it confrontations. And what I mean by confrontations, we get put in these scenarios where we have to, those situations is based off how you react. And sometimes you can avoid it, because I like to avoid confrontation. I like peace, like no. But sometimes you can't avoid confrontation because you're just put in situations where you have to speak up for yourself. You have to say certain things, but it's how you say it. And realizing that you have to say too much, realizing that sometimes it's like choosing peace over choosing to be right, choosing peace over your ego, choosing peace over needing to prove a point. Even if you are on a right, they know you're right. Whether you don't need to convince them. It's like letting situations go, releasing them, and letting Yahweh balance it out for you. And if you had a hard time of patience and letting Yahweh balance everything out, we tend to take on burdens we don't have to take on. So with this shame, I got the lotus flower concept. Not being ashamed or fearful of how your growth came about. The person you are now, right here in this moment, who you are now, the good that you went through and the bad that you went through made you who you are. And any little inconvenience, because I used to think any little inconvenience was my fault. Like, oh my God, I'm doing something wrong. Let me. And it's like, you're not doing anything wrong. It's just things happen. And it's how you react. It's like making sure our response come from a place of balance, and that's very important because, one second, any little thing, if you just get irritated and annoyed by every little thing, you're just going to be a miserable person. Even with people, having to learn to work with people you don't like, the people that you don't get along with, the people that you're not compatible with. And I used to think that, I like everybody. I'm not trying to disturb anyone's peace, not trying to do anything, and it's like, it should be peaceful, but it's like, sometimes you're just not compatible with people, you rub people the wrong way, and that's life. But we have to deal with working with people that get irritated by your presence, and sometimes you're gonna get irritated by other people's presence, not because you're jealous or envious, it's because something within your spirit just don't align with their spirit, and that's okay. I used to want to cover up my scars, and not just external scars, but internal scars of what I've been through, because I didn't think I wanted to move on from it to the point that I didn't want it to be associated with it. But I can't do that because that's my story, and our story helps other people. So if you're afraid to tell your story because of shame, then you're basically forfeiting your justice, because you speaking about it is justice, because you're not speaking from a place of trying to hurt anyone. You're just sharing your story, and sometimes you're still hurt, so you're unable to voice what you've been through. And so when you're ready, write it out first. But if you're gonna write a book and put it out there, but don't ever let anyone try to silence you, because your story matters. Okay? And that mud, I call it mud, that mud is everything you've been through, all the negative, bullying, harassment, whatever it is, abuse, okay, any shape or form, issues or depression or anything like that, psychologically, mental, self-harm, just anything that you went through and you feel like you have to hide it or be ashamed of it because you're still overcoming things, or don't do that, because that mud is what makes you beautiful. It what makes you you. A lotus flower grows through mud, through like harsh conditions, and people could keep throwing at you, but that's just going to make you more beautiful. All that pain is going to make you become more beautiful, not bitter, not, you might at first be a little bit like, oh my God, what's going on, and being your feelings, to be very emotional, angry, but eventually, if you're actively trying to work those things out and become a better you, it will eventually fall away, because you are making the conscious choice not to become the people that hurt you, not to become what has caused you harm, so much pain. It's like some people go through a lot of pain that they don't want to put pain onto others, or even want other people to go through what they went through. And there's some people that go through a lot of pain and they want to inflict that pain onto others. And so it's like that choice about who you want to be. And it's like, as you go through life, we got to learn to maintain our balance when things are chaotic, when things are not going our way, when things are falling apart, and all you can do is praying. Okay? And back to the point of being trying to hide my scars, or wanting to just cover it up, so it's like it never happened, but it did happen. And plus, the Lord didn't allow me to do it anyway when I tried to. I'll talk about that probably later in a different video, but I tried to, I went about things in the wrong way, because I didn't have anything to be ashamed of, even though I was feeling that way. But it's like, that's a part of my story of who I am now, and learning my lessons and not needing to pretend that, oh, I never experienced this. And it's like, you did, though. And it's okay. And it's like not covering up, because we need people to speak more. That representation of you putting your story out there, it helps people, because they're experiencing similar things too, and realizing that we're human, we're flawed. And that does not mean that we should just shut up and go sit in a corner. It means that we can still thrive and live life even through these challenges that happens, big or small, okay? So embracing who you are, acceptance. And I wrote this, it's like, how could you truly value truth? You know, people be like, oh, I'm all about truth, the truth seeking and telling the truth and being honest, living in truth. But it's like, how can you truly value the truth if you don't accept your own? And it's like accepting our own truth of how we came about. I'm not saying you have to share every little detail about who you are to the world or to people. This is just about living your daily life. And when you come in contact with people, especially with strangers, you know, you come into contact with people and y'all have conversations, or you're talking to the youth about what you've been through and things like that. It's like, it helps them, because you're helping people in a way that they don't have to. Since you experienced it already, you can help them navigate a way to help them out of it, or even prevent it from happening to them. That's why, you know, there's so many ads on dating violence and drugs, alcohol, no drink and drive and things like that, because we don't want people getting into wrecks, losing their lives, you know, taking away another life. You know, that's why they have these advertisements put together to bring awareness, to help people navigate this, because like I said, we're learning, and we don't know until we know. And sometimes we don't have those guardians, those parents to help teach us what we should and should not do. Not everybody has a support system. Not everybody has someone to go to talk to. And so it's very important that if you're called to do something, you're called to put something out there, just do it. Even if you're afraid and scared, because we're all really afraid and scared, no matter how strong people look or come off. Okay, we are too, you know, going through things and want someone to be there to hold our hand, and sometimes all we have is the Lord to do that, and that's all you have. Pray, because He is there. His presence is surrounding you, it's around you. Welcome Him in, and that's how you find peace within a lot of darkness that surrounds your life, in different seasons in your life that you go through, and you feel like there's no light at the end of the tunnel. And that darkness, that negative force will try to take away your hope, to make you give up on life and do things to make you self-sabotage, and you don't need to do that. So that's all I'm going to talk about, really. That's all I want to go over. I hope it makes sense, because I know I be jumping around sometimes, trying to put my thoughts together, make it cohesive, so it's not like scattered, but it's like my brain be operating, and I be trying to get to that point, and distractions, working, communicating properly, making sure you understand the words that's coming out of my mouth and things like that. So I'm working on becoming a better communicator, you know, but it is what it is, because I said what I said. I'm not gonna let, you know, any speech impediment hold me back from using my voice, and you shouldn't either. You shouldn't either, okay? So embrace your story. Embrace what made you you, because no one has your story, no one has your book. Everybody, think of it like everybody has their book, right? It's already written for us. I remember this show called The Musicians. It used to come on Sci-Fi, and they were looking, they went in the library and they found their book, and if they go to the end, it tells them how they die, and they were like debating, should I read it or should I not? And it's like, I don't think you should. Some people would, though. They want to know how they die so they can try to prevent it, but it's like, your story's already written. When it's your time to go, it's your time to go. And it's like, stop worrying about when it's going to happen, when this is going to happen, when that's going to happen. And it's like, live in the moment, be present, be grateful, show gratitude for where we are now, what we have, and the experience that you have, accumulated over the time spent here on this earth. Because when you go through those dark seasons in your life, that determines how far up you're going to go. Because if you just start being bitter and resentful and wanting to cause pain because you're going through it, that's just going to come back to you. So you might as well just take what you're going through, like the story of Job. He didn't deserve any of that, but he had to go through it, you know? So don't think just because you're going through something, you did something wrong. It's just, you can think of it as a test, you know? Who are you really? When you're really backed up against a wall, who are you? Are you willing to throw someone under the bus? Are you willing to, you know, what are you willing to do? How far are you willing to go to try to win? You know, this illusion of winning or get to the top, the illusion of getting to the top. When, you know, if you have a screwed, how can I say, like the way you see life, if it's not coming from a perspective that's rooted in Yahweh, I do think that you will have a hard time. Because when you're rooted in Yahweh, his consciousness, and when you're going through the thick of it, you find peace within the storm. Because there's always going to be storms. They come and go. Not every day is a sunny day. We have rain, and then comes the rainbow. So it's move with grace with yourself and with others, because it can be hard. You could be agitated, you could be annoyed because it's like you don't feel like doing anything, and because you're going through it, you don't want to be around anyone, but still put your best foot forward, even if you are struggling in any way, shape, and form, because it will not last forever. But once you find that peace within whatever you're going through, nothing can really get to you at that point, because it's like, I've been through that already. I've been brokenhearted already. I've been shattered already. It's done. You know, it's like I've been, you know, people have everybody has their story of what they've been through, and it's rough out here, and life is tough. Whether it's not even about how much money you have or anything like that, or what you do, or the awards that you accumulated, now that matters. It's the little things that make up your day. Because sometimes we warp our identity in what we do and how we perform. And Yahweh don't want that. We don't have to perform for the Lord. We don't have to put on this show. We don't have to pretend to wear a mask or feel like we have to be overly productive in the way that you think that he wants us to do. Because really, all he wants us to rest. All he wants from us is to rest in his presence. And I've been struggling with that, because I feel like I got things to do. I'm trying to do this, and I can't be, and it's like, until we rest fully, truly in Yahweh presence, certain things will be blocked out of your life, because he needs your attention. He needs your undivided attention. He needs your presence. He needs your mind in alignment with his will for your life. Because we tend to think we know what we're doing, what kind of life we want to live, and sometimes our desires may not be in alignment with the life that we think we should be living. Or sometimes our desires are not in alignment with the life that the Lord has planned for us. And the life the Lord has for us, he knows us. He knows who we really are. He knows us more than we know ourselves. Let's just say that. And he knows what's best for you, even though in the moment you think that you should go a certain way, you should be doing a certain thing. And most of the time you want to do those certain things because of certain factors, because of life and the way life is and the way life is set up. We feel like we got to go a certain way, but if certain things wasn't the case, we wouldn't even be doing those things or choosing those things. And so now it's like relearning and taking everything apart and no longer building a life from pain, no longer having that pain as your identity, because as you strip that away, it's like, who are you now? You can build a life from peace, from love. You can build a life that you actually enjoy, instead of feeling like you're building a life because you had to run from your past or run from your scars and run from your truth. You don't have to run from your truth. Lean into your truth, because the Lord is one with your truth, and we need to be one with the Lord, okay? And I come to that consciousness finally, but it's like coming to that consciousness is not the hard part. It's actually putting and living it every day, because that unlearning part is very hard. Once you've been sticking to something for so long, you think this is the way you need to go because it got you so far, but now you don't have to do that anymore. You don't have to live that way anymore. We don't have to do things this way anymore. You had to at that certain season of your life, but now in this season of life, we can do something different. We can move differently. We can show up as something different. And it's all about our mindset, the energy within us. And that needs to change to open the new doors for our life. But we can't do that if we continue living from an identity that was based from shame and pain. And so you built this ego life to hide all that away, but now the Lord is calling for our vulnerability. He's calling for our true selves without the mask. And because, this quote from a person, he was like, the Lord will not bless who you pretend to be. He will bless who you truly are. So, and you're going to know when you're in a season of your life when it's time for you to transition, to have that transformation, to put a depth to who you used to be, because that's not who you truly are. And we got to recognize that, accept that, and stop trying to build an identity and cling to something because you feel like that's the only thing that you had that was going for you, but because it's falling apart anyway. So you might as well, because everything is a choice. You're building a miserable life, and now you can build a life that you can enjoy. And so you got to make that decision, and you have to make that decision. And to build a life that you truly enjoy, you have to remove that feeling of bitterness and those negative emotions. You got to forgive. You got to forgive yourself. You got to forgive other people. You have to release. You got to let go. You can't harbor all that anger, because it's going to mess up where you need to be. It's going to mess up your bloom. And it's a process. It's a process, because like I said, things always going to come at us in life. And we have to learn, and as you learn, you get better at it. Learning not to let things affect you so much, not getting agitated, not going off, and not letting things irritate you, annoy you the way that it used to. And it's a work in progress. But as you keep actively becoming aware of your triggers and working on it and praying, you will get better. So it's like, never give up on yourself, never give up on the Lord, never give up on striving to be a better you, for your spirit, for your soul, for your bloodline, breaking those generational curses. Never give up doing that, because life wants you to throw in a towel, to either end it all or just start operating out of negativity. And when you do that, you start giving power to the other side, because the other side don't have any power unless you give it power. So don't do that. Even with our thoughts, our mindset, making sure we purify our thoughts and our minds. Not thinking negatively about people to the point, because sometimes we have some thoughts that cross our mind, and it's like, okay, that was weird, and that, but it's like making sure they don't linger, coming from a place of compassion, forbearance, because, negative thoughts come through our mind. Not every thought's going to be positive, but it's like making sure we have those things in check. And we're not being negative to the point where we are just, you're being, that's going to be another video, but hope you get what I'm saying. Anyway, I got to go. So just don't be ashamed. Tell your story, use your voice, use your words. Your story matters. We're one of one. We're always going to be one of one. No one is you, and that is everything. All you got to do is just be you.